Hello, YouTubers. In this video, I'm gonna work on my first introduction to the Cobol language, computer language, um, that has been developed since the 1950s till today. According to what we see on the screen, the name of the Cobol, what stands for Cobol stands for Common Business Oriented Language. It's a high-level language, just like Java or C++ or Python. What high-level language means is that it takes away a lot of the inner workings of a low-level language. For example, when you're working with languages like assembly language, like a learning scope like PEP7 or PEP8, compilers, what you have to do is that in a high-level language, you avoid using things like memory allocation to a certain extent. Some languages like C++ even may allow you to use those tools, but languages like Java, from what I remember, I haven't touched it in a while. Java used to allocate memory automatically. You had a memory garbage collector, I believe. That means it took care of all. When you load something to the memory of your computer or device, then what this garbage collector does is that whenever you finish using those memory bytes, those unused locations in memory get restored for future or use. That means you don't have to do anything related to programming code in Java. That's what it used to be back a couple of years ago. I haven't touched Cobol in a while too, but Cobol, as you can see on the screen, when you look at the basic structure of a Cobol program, you have something called data division. In this data division, if you look at the screen, a basic Cobol structure program is divided into four parts, or four what we call divisions. The first one is the identification division. The second one is the environment division. The next one is the data division, and the last one is the procedure division. Where we touch memory, things like that, it would be on the data division. In this basic program, we're just outputting like you learn in school. There is sometimes they teach you one of the first programs you do for any language would be to display the message "Hello World." That's what this thing is doing. This Cobol program is doing. So let's look at what Cobol means or what Cobol does in more details. So according to what I have on the screen and what I know of, this Cobol language has been used for businesses like banks or like reliable systems, specifically banks, or health companies like insurances and to keep records of patients or bad users. So as we see here on the screen, then what it says is that it's used for businesses, finance, and administrative systems for companies and governments. I use this. I haven't used it. Uh, what I use this for is for keeping records. I also use it for um, medical, like health insurance, but not in a big detail, just basic things. Um, what's good about this one is that it's very reliable and fast for handling large-scale data processing. For example, banks need to be very reliable, need to have very reliable uh, um, systems that can handle large-scale data processing, because every transaction has to be exact. Otherwise, you're gonna lose money. Every cent count. That means that what I know is that Cobol has two. When I learned the first time is that Cobol has two. You can use it in two ways. You can use it as a file, as a file, file storage way. That means that data gets access step by step. Newer versions of Cobol, you can use other things, but the other way, the second way, is that you can use what you call like interactive way. For example, banks, when you start depositing or withdrawing money, then you create a transaction. That means that transaction is interactive with the user. That means that whatever is behind the screen gets maybe sent to a mainframe computer, or some kind of computer, or some kind of computer that can handle Cobol and other tools like Rex, or like JCL, which I use for some time. And also Rex sometimes is used for statistics purposes. It means that when you're using an interactive system that is based on Cobol and other tools and scripting languages, is that you can access data instantly. Not instantly, but you can search it. The user is able to search things through means like a sort of like an old terminal screen, or sometimes in other systems, like in modern systems, through data gets passed through what we call like an input system. Why we call it when you have graphics and stuff like that. I believe we call it depending on right now, but I think we call it let me check. Yes, I remember now. I check online. What we call a GUI interface. That means that it's a graphical user interface, just like a Walmart or Amazon or Target or any Eisen Permanente or like Anthem Blue Cross or any of those websites that has an interactive screen for that end user. And behind the screen, then there are things like data transfer and protocols and other tools to handle the data that comes from the user and from the backend system, and then is displayed to the screen to the user. In the old days, we used to have we still some companies still use interfaces that are blue screen, or they have a specific, they are monochrome, or they have very little GUI graphics, but they're harder to use, but they can be very useful for certain applications, for like call centers, or like people who handle payments, or like people who handle accounting purposes, or things like accessing patient records, bank records, or behind the screen. Sometimes I prefer those things for certain uses, but other times I'd like to use graphical user interface. So let's go to the next topic. The next topic I'm going to talk about is the key features of Cobol. So what are the benefits of Cobol? It means that the syntax is very readable. That means that you have a very human-like syntax. Syntax means the way you write your code on your screen in that this process in the mainframe of the computer. Another, like I said, another good thing about Cobol is that it's business oriented. It's used for large scale businesses, or businesses that require reliability and security purposes, among other things. Another topic that high level languages have is that it's very portable. Portable means that you can run on different hardware platforms with minimal modification. What that means is that, for example, you can run it on a mainframe, on a 390 mainframe, or like a 370 mainframe operating system with mainframe operating system, or more advanced mainframes. IBM is very famous for developing and creating hardware for mainframe applications. The only ones that I use are IBM mainframe hardware. That means the big computers, big mainframe computers. I also I never use it, but I've seen the Hercules simulator for Cobol and this for training purposes. You don't need to have a mainframe. Those big computers that used to require that in older books used to say that they require a space, dimensional spaces that are too big in size, that require like a whole floor building in the very old days. But now they are smaller, just like a closet. But they are very powerful. They need to be maintained too and updated, because you need to have very electrical supplies, electrical wiring, because for for this kind of mainframe systems, you need to have a reliability, because banks, when you are like an ATM and you're accessing those things from the back end, you need to be the person that is obtaining the money, or withdrawals, or depositing money, or checking balances, or doing other things. They need to have a very high degree of accuracy and reliability. That means that those things need to be running 24/7. Some of these newer mainframe systems or computers that can handle or that simulate mainframe, IBM, or other kind of system that can handle Cobol, are also able to support legacy operating systems, legacy versions of Cobol. Some banks or some insurance companies, government agencies like the Department of Defense of a government, or they rely on these type of systems for their amazing resources that they provide to the organization or to the company. So now let's go back to the basic structure of a Cobol program. A Cobol program is divided into 4 main divisions. That means 4 parts. The first one is called the identification division. In that identification division, you're gonna have one of the things you can have is something what we call a program ID. That means the name of your program you are creating. For example, on your screen. So one basic program would be, the first thing you're gonna write is called what we said, the identification division. So type identification division. Then at the end you type a period. Then on the next line you're gonna type program ID, program dash ID, period, space, and then you type hello world, and then dot. That means that your program ID is the name of your program you are creating. In this case, it's gonna be hello world. You can call it different ways. You can call it, for example, then as a matter of fact, you can call it. Sometimes you can divide different a software system use that is based on Cobol can have different. You can have different Cobol programs. That means that these programs can call each other. So, for example, for like a banking system, you can call the program ID withdrawal, and another program you can call it deposit. That means that you can name things that are very human-like and that can help you understand your syntax better. So I believe you can also, for the identification division, you can also have the day that this program was created, and I believe you can have other things. But and the next, okay, so now let's go to the next thing. The next division is called the environment division. The environment division is where you specify your configuration and the environment in which the program will run. For example, if you're running on a 390 OS 39, IBM OS 390 or OS 370 system, you're probably going to have to specify that on the environment division. This is a very simple program, but I've seen I haven't seen a lot of these programs, but I just a few. But I know that these divisions can get very complex because sometimes you might have to call. For example, you might have to call from. Let's say you need to access. Let's say you are in the U.S. and you want to access a certain data set from another mainframe system that is located in another country, like Germany, France, or Denmark, or Finland, or Russia, or any country. That means that you need to specify those things. I believe you need to specify those things on the environment division. The next topic is the data division. So the data division is where you're just going to specify the things like the structure or how data, for example, the type of, let's say we're talking about like things like, let's say like money, like cash. In a banking system, you need to specify how many digits and what type of data you're handling. It has to be things like, I'm talking about types like currency or like names. So you need to specify that on the data division. In the data division, you're also going to specify how many characters, the length of the characters or the length of the numbers you're working with. You have to be from what I've seen, you have to be very specific. Also, for the last thing, for a basic structure of a Cobol program is that we're gonna call it a procedure division. This is where the body of your program is located. That means that here is where what we call where we do the main handling of your data and processing of your data. That means that this contains the actual code and the logic of the program. For example, if you're transferring data from a variable to another variable, you're going to have to do it in the procedure division. As I was saying, the hello world program, we need to display it on the screen. For this basic program, we want to display hello world. Like that means that, as you can see here on the screen, hello world. What that means is that we need to do that in the procedure division. And the way you do it is through operators and keywords like display, stop, run. So in this procedure division, display is a keyword that when you type it in the procedure division and then you type hello world, like you see it on here, that means that when we run it on the screen or the terminal, our mainframe terminal, like MBS TO, that means that you will see once you compile it and run it, you're gonna display hello world on your screen. So the last thing for the program to finish is that you need to have a statement that says stop. And that means that once the program hits this point, that means that the program is going to end successfully if everything was compiled and run correctly. But sometimes, as you know from other languages, or if you're a beginner of Cobol, this is your first Cobol your first computer language. That means that you can have syntactical errors, semantic errors. So sometimes you're gonna have syntactical means that when you compile your program, you may have the compiler may have the capability of telling you that something in especially the keywords like identity. These are keywords that have to be in your program. I mean, you cannot change what this another way of doing it. So that means that if you type, for example, identity and you forget FI, that means that you can, and you run it and you compile it, and it may be able to tell you that you forgot that something in that line of the program, there is a syntactical error. Sometimes you may have, but the other cases, like I believe they call it semantical error. That means that when you run a program, for example, you're doing some logic, logical operations in your procedure division, and you don't get the results you want. That means that you may have some, I believe they call it semantical error. Let me check. Semantical, I think, let me check. Let me just double check just in case. Yes. Semantical error means that you have some error in your output result. That means that doesn't behave the way you expect it to. So every program has an input, which is your data and parameters. And if something in your logic, in the procedure division that contains your logic, your I was saying the code and the logic that is going to process that data and that input, if that logic and doesn't behave well, that means that you have some called a semantical error. That means that the program will output something you don't like or something you don't expect to get. For that, the way you handle those types of semantical errors is by doing testing that involves different kinds of tools or ways of doing it. Debugging can be done through automation, which are tools that that handle a lot of things like syntactical or semantical errors in many cases. Sometimes you need to use methods like test cases. Sometimes you have to use methods like brute force. Sometimes you need to look, if it's a small program like this one, you can look at line by line. That means that you don't have to use, it may be useful, but you might, for beginners, you might have to use your intuition, or basically you have to use your basic knowledge of what you're doing and the keywords that are in your program. Or in the case that I told you that you forgot FI, that means that if you run it and then you get an error, that means that you can go back, and if this is a small program, you can go back and see, oh, maybe I forgot FI. That means that you don't need to use advanced methods or advanced tools for that. And for a beginner, I think this is very useful because you learn how to debug basic things. And as you progress on these debugging tools and methods, you become a better programmer. So there are things, other organizations that keep records of like U.S. Census or like demographics or like medical records or like or like retail customer data personalization, then Cobol and name transitions or our platforms that can handle these tools like Cobol and Rex and these other statistical tools and graphical user interfaces that can help the end user um, would be a great way of building a system, because it's gonna be reliable, secure, portable, and also it's gonna be 24/7. That means that you're not gonna have any time latency in your transactions. That means that whatever processing is getting done in these systems is gonna be, it would be 24/7 for most cases, or for time intervals, like for example morning or afternoon or evening, or for like a week or day periods, or 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, month, years, whatever the system needs to be up on. Cobol mainframe systems and Cobol are still vital for many organizations. These systems are very stable, very effective for large data processing, for what we call big data. When you introduce tools like Rex for statistical purposes, these programs become very useful for the end user, because, for example, sometimes you want to, for example, the Wall Street market, then probably uses this type of systems in one way or another, because you're gonna have to have a large amount of transactions and data processing. Those things are very complex, but they can be done through systems that involve Cobol and other means like statisticals. For example, when you're talking about financial businesses, that means that these things are very reliable, because those statistics will get done in instant, and that's what we want. That's what the end user wants, and what the organization wants. So thank you, my fellow YouTube subscribers and new subscribers and future subscribers, for listening to my introduction to what a Cobol program is. I believe this is going to help you. This language is going to help you for entering a career for large companies, medium companies, or small companies that uses large amounts of data processing and large input data sets. And since it is a human-like language, people say they're gonna have a easier time. It depends on what you're doing, but like complex things require more time to develop, and sometimes it's get done through a group of programmers. That can be local, or that can be remote, or both. So thank you for listening and enjoying, and I hope you start learning Cobol and creating your basic programs. Hopefully I can continue doing this on my next lessons. So for now, I suggest you start. There is an online tool that I think I have open here. And if you go online and you type jdoodle.com /execute Cobol online, you have an online compiler, and you can create your account and you can save your programs, I believe, and you can create basic programs, and they have different language versions of Cobol, like GNU, like GNU. They have an interactive mode capabilities that once you write your program and you hit execute, the online tool from JDoodle is gonna execute your program, and it's gonna give you your result in a terminal that is on the same screen. So for basic programs, I really think it's gonna be very useful for you. You can write your code, and once you're creating your account, you're probably gonna be able to store these programs there. And as you go on, you can start creating larger programs that require more lines of code, and you're gonna like it because you don't have to install anything on your Windows PC or Mac OS or Linux or some systems, some microsystems, and other operating systems, because you're gonna do it everything on. I haven't registered on jdoodle.com, but I try it gives you, once you enter there, it's gonna give you a sample program there, and once you run it, you execute it, you're gonna see that is very useful. You're gonna see your output result very right on the screen. You don't need a big mainframe system on your room or wherever you're learning this stuff, right? So see you next time, and once I create more Cobol YouTube videos, we're gonna make it, and we're gonna work on that. So thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I hope to see you next time very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.